Biztech Marketing Show. Now, hi, I'm Brian Fernandez, and today we're going to talk about an old established brand, Superbrands. It's been established since 1994 with a global footprint of over 19 countries. 90 countries,
Yeah.
but with a participation that is by invitation only. Now, Superbrands status helps companies distinguish themselves, leading to increased visibility and market share. For consumers inundated with choices, Superbrands recognition offers a trusted benchmark and boosts credibility and helps set businesses apart. Now, to tell us more about this, we've got Jonathan Hardy, the Country Director of Superbrands Singapore. Jonathan, welcome to the show.
Hi, Brian. Very nice to be here.
Now, Jonathan, for a start, could you give us an overview of Superbrands, its history, and how you've evolved over the years?
Sure. So Superbrands, as you were mentioning in your intro, very long established brand awards program. Say 30 years globally, about 20 years here in Singapore. And the key with Superbrands is we're looking to identify, leading brands across multiple product and services categories. We actually recognize around 100 different products and services. And we do that through an independent study of Singapore's leading brands. And as you mentioned, Superbrands is actually a global award program, so operating in those 90 countries. And so we have well-established programs in UK, Germany, Hungary, Portugal, and then a bit closer to home, markets like Malaysia, Thailand, and Indonesia. And so from the survey, we qualify brands based on Singapore consumer votes. We ask them to vote on their favorite brands. And the brands that achieve that significant number of votes within each category have the opportunity we invite them to participate in the program, and then they can claim their award and they can earn the right to use the Superbrands Singapore Choice Award seal. And so we see brands using that award across multiple touch points, communication touch points. So that would be, packaging, advertising, social media, all helping to differentiate themselves in the marketplace. And so as a result, that Superbrand Singapore Choice Award has become highly recognized in Singapore, very high levels of awareness over the years. And we're very pleased with the range of brands that participate in the program. So in recent years, we see a mix of both multinational companies and sort of more local Singapore brands. So we've seen, recently LG Electronics, Carlsberg, Perrier, Daikin, Dulux, Tokyo Marine, those kind of global brands. And then more locally, perhaps Gardens by the Bay, Sheng Siong Supermarket, Hokwah Tonic, Extra Space Self Storage, City Energy, Mind Champs, Jumbo Seafood, all of these leading brands within the local market of Singapore that have been recognized as favorite brands by Singapore consumers.
Okay, we're going to come back about, I want to talk a little bit about your clients a little bit later,
Yeah.
but one of the first things that you mentioned, again, it's about consumers voting. And therefore, this is an invitation-only program to brands themselves.
Yeah.
How do you educate consumers about the value of the Superbrands endorsement?
Yeah, so obviously, again, the fact that we've been in the market for so many years, that visibility of the award seal helps to create a level of confidence itself. But the same time, yes, of course, we are working through our own communication channels to help people understand what Superbrands means, both at a consumer level and importantly within the business community as well. We've had a number of partnerships recently, most recently with the Asia Business Show, which allows us to engage with that business audience directly. We have our own communications within the marketing community, and that helps us to educate people on the methodology that we use for the research. For the research, we partner with a company called BDRC, which is a British-based research firm. We survey about 1,500 Singapore consumers, asking them to vote for their favorite brands within these categories. And then based on that, they're invited to participate in the program.
Okay, Jonathan, then with that in mind, I've got to ask you this.
Sure.
Now, across the region, and particularly in Singapore, there are a plethora of awards that SMEs in particular have a choice of and can go and get endorsement from. What makes you stand out from the competition as a trusted brand?
Well, as I say, again, I think it comes back to the methodology. You know, I can't speak to all of those other programs, but when we do the research, as well as asking the respondents to vote on their favorite brands within the categories, we also ask them about the perceptions of super brands, both in relation to some of the other awards programs that are out there, but also in terms of the attributes that they place on the Superbrands Singapore Choice Awards seal, and those attributes when they see that award in relation to the associated brands. So certainly in terms of awareness, we're very pleased with consistently survey on survey, we come out as the leading brand award program in Singapore. And we believe that, you know, again, is to do with the understanding of our methodology and the length of time in market and the high visibility of that award. And we see those numbers actually growing year on year, which again gives us confidence of how the award is being used. But when we ask them about what are the attributes they associate with the brand, we see in this sort of range of do you think this the award confers this attribute is sort of likely or more likely, you know, in terms of gives me confidence in the quality of this brand, have high levels of trust to this brand, makes me think that I would, this brand is a leader in its category, makes me think that I would recommend this to friends and family, would try this product for the first time. So all of the research backs up that sort of confidence that Singapore consumers have in the award itself.
Now, I want to zoom in on what you said earlier in terms of your clients list. You have, as you mentioned, a mixture of multinational companies as well as local SME brands. So could you give us an idea of the value proposition of both sides? So why does a global trusted brand like LG, how do they benefit from a super brand award? And then perhaps then you could share a local SME insight into how they perhaps, like Mind Champs, I think was one of your customers, how do they benefit from that association? And maybe you can share some success stories of how perhaps, especially with the SME, that has allowed them to expand their business.
Yeah. I mean, it's an interesting question because there's no one size fits all, right? I mean, there's a variety of benefits, I suppose, that this kind of third-party endorsement provides to a brand, you know. So certainly a key one is sort of differentiation, right? That allows a brand to position itself in a certain way against other competitive brands. This kind of endorsement allows a brand to celebrate its success, right? Accelerate its position, tell a story. And that's certainly very appealing to certain brands at certain times. We often, for example, we see brands when they're celebrating an anniversary, for instance, find that, the Superbrands award is very helpful for them to tell that kind of story at that time. And also the Superbrands award can be very good for recognizing both external and internal stakeholders. And the idea of using an award to celebrate the hard work and achievement of employees is also a really key point. And we see some brands that's really the primary reason why they participate, is to be able to help their employees feel that their hard work and effort is being recognized by their customers. And almost the participation is purely an internal communication, right?
That's very interesting. So it's an employee branding exercise then, something that I didn't think that
Yeah. So
was the
yeah. So
case.
it's employees are putting in that effort every day. They're working hard. They're trying to meet. So the fact that Superbrands is based on consumer votes of their favorite brands is a direct recognition to those employees that their hard work is paying off and is being appreciated by their customers. But certainly, I think that point about differentiation, and obviously that point about employees, applies to whatever business, whether it be the largest multinational or the smallest SME. But when it comes to differentiation, a lot of multinationals are working in very commoditized markets. You see some of the consumer goods, whether it be white goods or some of the consumer electronics that in the past might have been a more considered purchase around product features or new technology. Those have become much more commoditized. And something like a brand award can really help make a difference. All products now are having to deal with a much more fragmented marketplace. And a much more fragmented media communication environment. Used to be you could do your traditional advertising through very established media that consumers knew and recognized and were able to trust to a high regard. Now, even the most established brands are having to sell through consumer marketplaces, are relying on customer reviews and all sorts of content that has big question marks against it. And we're seeing that trust in the marketplace, consumer trust in the marketplace, is just going off a cliff. There was a recent research published by Twilio, which is a interesting tech company that provides this different app-based communication channels, and their study was showing that 56% of APAC consumers are ready to quit the established brands that they're losing trust in, and so that making sure that the brands, the consumers, can have that confidence in brands through all of these different channels is really, really key. And that third-party endorsement can help to provide that. And then in answer to your question about some examples of when brands maybe have used the award to help establish themselves and to sort of grow their business, I think a great example is looking at a company called Extra Space Self Storage here in Singapore. And that's, again, a very commoditized category. You think of self-storage, you might just be thinking of, okay, as long as I've got a storage unit at a good price, what's the difference? And Extra Space has done a fantastic job of building that brand over the last sort of nearly decade or so. And from very early on, they were pleased when that branding effort was resulting in that consumer recognition as called out by Superbrands, and were happy to claim their award and to start using that award seal. And that's been a central part of their communication over the last 4 or 5 years. And it's been great to see how their business has continued to grow in that way.
Jonathan, we're coming to the end of 2024. Looking ahead to 2025 and beyond, what are some of the key trends that you're seeing in terms of branding and marketing, and how Superbrands perhaps is adapting to the changes in consumer behavior and expectations, particularly in the digital space?
Well, obviously, we've had to evolve our communications in the same way as all businesses have, all brands have, and so we, utilize social media extensively. We create a lot of video content for our brands, and we publish, I suppose, a more traditional approach as we publish a brand reference book featuring all of the brands that are in that year's program. But that creates content, and that's another key part of the proposition in this fragmented landscape. Brands need to tell stories, and participation in Superbrands is a story. And so we create content that those brands can use, and then they take that content and they amplify it through their channels. But equally, they're creating their own content off the participation in Superbrands. And so whether that be, content coming out of the awards ceremony, their own social media activity, or an additional content that they're creating. So, in a way, the core proposition doesn't change. It's how you communicate it, how you amplify it, that changes as the media landscape changes,
Jonathan, it's been a great conversation. I've actually learned a lot, and you could see from my face, I'm thinking about a lot of things as you're discussing them. But before we leave, any final thoughts you'd like to leave the audience with?
Well, as I say, I think the key message that we've had from the beginning and continue to do so is the core marketing principles. In our fast-changing marketing landscape, the core marketing principles don't change, right? That consumers are looking for quality products from brands that they can trust. And it's increasingly hard for consumers to make that differentiation. And so being able to tell your story, being able to celebrate your success, celebrate your employees' success, and confirm the quality and credibility of your product and service remains the core objectives. And a third-party endorsement with an award like Superbrands can help you achieve that.
Jonathan, thank you very much for taking the time to be on the show. It's been a pleasure.
Likewise. Thank you, Brian.
We've been speaking to Jonathan Hardy, Country Director of Superbrands Singapore. I'm Brian Fernandez, and you've been watching and listening to Biztech Marketing Show. This show will be on our website, www.biztech.asia, as well as our syndication partners, TV stations, radio stations, and websites. Thanks a lot for tuning in.